For even more updates on Stephen King's It, The Dark Tower, and The Mist, be sure to check out hybridnetworkyt.com.
What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Hybrid Network and a look at the many works of Stephen King. Today I wanted to do something a little different, something fun, as I've been picking apart and detailing a majority of both The Mist and It. So I've decided to take a look at some of the other stories in the Horror Legends archive that I think should make a comeback in the film department. A lot of his stories have already been adapted in some form or other, and these are just a few of projects that I think would benefit from a modern day cinematic touch-up. So without further ado, let's get started with 3 Stephen King stories that should get remakes. Number 3, Cujo. I have to admit, Cujo isn't my favorite story by Stephen King, but the potential to really improve on the base concept is there at the heart of it. Cujo is mostly the story about a degrading marriage between Vic and Donna Trenton, their efforts to try and keep things together, and the grief that they both cause each other throughout the story, while Cujo works throughout the story as a force of nature, steadily becoming more and more violent from its infection of rabies as it goes about killing other characters before confronting Donna and her son Tad, trapping them both within their car with no help around to save them. Cujo is a long-form storytelling, where the main antagonistic force doesn't actually appear until the climax, but the story is more focused on the main characters and their struggles with who they are as people and their view on their relationship. Although it's named after the dog, Cujo is a very human story, and horror stories based around these concepts of grief and shame I think are in too short of supply. It's something we need more of, because true horror I think makes us take a look at ourselves and wonder about the choices we make and what we accept in our lives. The work we put forward into making things better and whether or not our priorities are ever straight. There's been an adaptation of Cujo in the works since 2015, the last I've heard it was a play on the title as an anagram for a dog patrol unit, so who knows what angle they're wanting to take the new story, but as long as it maintains a human connection and look into who we are, I say it's worth it to take a crack at the story again. Number 2, Pet Sematary. One of the first Stephen King stories I've ever read, Pet Sematary has maintained its ranking in my mind among King's work, being one of my absolute favorites despite the rather silly premise on the surface. The story revolves around the Creed family as they move into the new town of Ludlow and their interactions with a pet cemetery that lies on an old Indian burial ground, which brings the pets buried there to life. Death is a common theme, but Pet Sematary tackles it in a way that's just downright depressing, which is probably why I love this story so much. It's one of the most bleak in all of King's work, just growing more and more deranged and desolate as the book continues forward. I always like the story for its tackling of death as a subject, highlighting the grief that comes with losing a child and the importance of accepting the finality of things. The book itself is just steeped in death and what we would do to bring the ones we love back to life, even if it's just a shell of their former self, and that makes Pet Sematary so compelling. It's a sad story detailing guilt and desperation. From what I can tell, the movie has had a remake in the works as far back as 2010, with no real progress made as of late. I desperately want this remake, not necessarily for the horror of a child zombie wandering around and killing people, but more so for the depressing bits, because I feel like we need more horror that delves into the dark places in our minds that we don't like to think about. Death, loss, tragedy, and how we deal with it is a huge part of the story, and having a horror movie tackle that I think would give it a whole new level of appreciation. Number 1. Firestarter. Firestarter has and will continue to be one of my favorite stories by Stephen King. A shadowy corporation, a government experiment, a little girl that can manipulate flames, all of this comes to a head for a great story revolving around the love between a father and his daughter. Basically, the story revolves around Andy and his daughter Charlie as they're on the run from a government agency known as the Shop, both of them being hunted for their telekinetic abilities, Andy being able to influence and dominate the mind, something he calls the push, and Charlie has devastating powers of starting fires with her thoughts and emotions. It's always been a favorite just for the relationship Andy and Charlie have, the length they're willing to go to keep each other safe, as well as my love for the concept of an evil government agency tracking down and looking to exploit individuals for their talents and capabilities. Back in 2014, it was stated a television series was in the works that would focus on Charlie as a grown woman, which seems like a cool idea, and the actual concept of Firestarter might work best as a television series anyway. No matter how it gets done, Firestarter is an intense and emotional thriller that I think we definitely could use in a modern day approach, the concept of a parent fighting to protect their child being a very compelling story that I'd love to see again. And that about does it for this list. What series would you like to see remade or adapted once again? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos from the Hybrid Network. My name is Luke, and I'll catch you all next time.